From Washington, here's Bret Baier.
Since January 2009, President Barack Obama has made huge steps to fundamentally transform America. The trillion-dollar stimulus package, health care, nationalized student loans. He couldn't have done it without Democrat control of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Well, President Obama still wants more change. A sweeping energy bill, pro-union card check legislation, financial regulatory overhaul, immigration reform, and possibly new taxes. A Republican takeover of either house this November could halt his agenda completely. For months, Fox News has had inside access to key races in 5 states, including 2 holding critical primaries Tuesday night. We begin in Pennsylvania. 80-year-old Arlen Specter has served in the U.S. Senate 30 years. Once a Democrat, he jumped to the GOP 4 decades ago. But Specter was one of the only 3 Republicans to vote for the trillion-dollar stimulus. When polls showed him losing the 2010 primary to conservative Pat Toomey, Specter switched back to the Democrats. Now he faces a Democratic challenge from Representative Joe Sestak, who once trailed Specter by 20 points in the polls. Not anymore.
Your senior senator, who's just been doing outstanding work in the Senate, Arlen Specter's in the House.
March 8th, a health care rally in Philadelphia. President Obama gives a shout-out to 2 Democrats fighting for the same job.
Somebody who rendered outstanding service to our nation before he was in Congress, Joe Sestak, is in the House.
But Sestak claims the Obama administration tried to entice him to leave the race with an offer of a high-level government job. If so, that could be a federal crime. Sestak seemed less than eager to talk to me about it.
Last attempt. You don't want to talk about the specifics, and you think the issue should go away. The White House should not be asked about it anymore?
I didn't say that. What I said is, for Joe Sestak, I answered the question honestly. For anybody else, do what you want, say what you want.
But now Senator Specter is saying you need to back up that claim.
For a gentleman who ran this nation aground with his terrible votes with George Bush, I'm not taking any advice from Arlen Specter.
When I asked Senator Specter about the claim, he counterattacked.
I think he's trying to shift attention away from the fact that he hasn't paid the minimum wage to his campaign workers. That's a very serious matter. It calls for a jail sentence.
That's a pretty pointed jab for March. Isn't the primary in May?
Hey, it's not a pointed jab. It is a fact.
After the speech, Specter, leading Sestak by 18 points, flies back to Washington on Air Force One. Sestak scrambles across town for a campaign event.
Absolutely. Thanks. Wife called. I'll take care of that first. I just left. The president was here speaking at Acadia, so we're going over. United Food Workers, commercial workers are endorsing me, so that's where I headed to. Great. All right, love you, babes. Bye-bye. Since 4 January, we have done 262 events. A lot of time we spend around driving, but it's a lot of time we get stuff done also. It's kind of like a little office in here, folks down here, there, and all back here. We'll do about, 8 or 9 events today. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Joe, good luck.
I appreciate it.
We're going to work very hard between now and November to send him to the United States Senate.
I thank you for this endorsement today. Joe Sestak, thanks for helping us out tonight.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
How's things coming along?
Very well.
I'm 100 years old, but guess what? I can do everything now I did when I was 99.
Meanwhile, Republican Pat Toomey is behind the controls of his
You look out from here
hunting for red votes
and you realize what a big state this is.
In this increasingly blue state.
Pennsylvania kind of runs the gamut as far as ideologically, geographically.
Most important thing is to have a message and to believe in something that is shared across that geography, across that ideology.
In 2004, Toomey lost a very tight race against Specter in the GOP primary.
If one vote had gone the other way in each precinct in Pennsylvania, I would have won that election.
I am so glad that I get to vote for you without any anguish this time.
Oh, terrific.
It is your turn.
Well, thank you very much.
Toomey became the prohibitive favorite for the GOP nod.
A lot of support out there for you.
I think it's terrific.
When Specter left the party last April.
This is such a disgrace.
The momentum is all on our side. I'm very confident we're going to win this race.
That's good.
March 16th. The day began at 10 a.m. in Allentown with a 45-minute flight to Franklin County. There, Toomey left us for a private fundraising event. He's back in about 2 hours. Quickly edits a press release.
The point I want to make is that businesses could find it prohibitively expensive to borrow the money they need to expand.
Then gets back behind the controls.
I got a little Jewish prayer I'm going to express.
That is excellent. Between your Jewish prayer and my Catholic prayer, I'd say we got a pretty good chance of surviving.
Awesome.
Or maybe not. A panel on the fuselage flies open.
Oh. Okay.
A scary moment.
Is there any yawing moment without the...
Yes, there is.
There's quite a bit.
Yep. Yes, there is.
Forcing Toomey to make an emergency landing.
Bring it in here.
Unfazed, Toomey improvises a fix
All set?
and is back in the air.
Much better.
But he reaches Pittsburgh behind schedule, forcing him to cancel his first event there. He takes a meeting, followed by a quick bus.
This is very serious luxury. I don't see any golden arches, so it's unfamiliar.
It's not glamorous.
Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding? Do you know how many fast food meals I wolf down in the back seat of the car and between events? You don't think that's glamorous? French fries falling over your lap while you're on your way to give a little talk?
Yeah.
You don't think that's glamorous?
13 hours after he first took off, Toomey is back home.
Mr. Toomey is not far right. Mr. Toomey is far out.
March 12th.
I beat him in 2004 in the Republican primary, and I can beat him again.
Did your campaign learn something from that race?
We saw how far to the right the Pennsylvania primary electorate is.
And Specter concedes he jumped to the Democrats explicitly to duck the judgment of those Republican voters.
My chief of staff tells me we're able to help you.
I hope.
Well, we're working on it.
His party switch remains an issue he has to address at nearly every stop.
Today, I feel very comfortable back at my roots as a Democrat. Over the years, my votes have been independent votes.
We're going to have you work in the room for a few minutes.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Could I actually get a picture with you, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Senator.
I would like to welcome you back to the Democratic Party.
Sometimes even Specter seems to lose track of what party he's now in.
These are all students from around the state.
April 6th, Penn State University.
I'm proud to have been endorsed by the college Republicans.
Did he say college Republicans?
You started today.
Yep.
By college Democrats. I was a Republican for 40 years, I think, that I'll understand that I'm a Democrat sooner than 40 years.
Specter, who once led the more liberal Sestak by 21 points, is now only ahead by 11.
Harlan, let's go.
Came up from Washington, D.C., got in about 11:30, 12. The next morning started the first event at 7:30. Drove from this area southwest all the way to Erie, about a 7-hour drive for an event up there. Left there, got back here at 4 a.m. Was up 3 hours later for an 8 o'clock event. And continued and got in last night at 2:30 a.m. And this morning we were out. I think our first meeting was at 8 o'clock. Breaking 100,000 miles in about 2.5 years on this. And we do a lot of traveling.
It seems to be working. Sestak, who's done more than 400 events in 3 months, keeps closing in by the day, while the punches...
What they want to see is someone out there who's actually willing to say principle matters more than my job.
And counterpunches.
When he's got the worst attendance record of anybody in the Pennsylvania delegation, he ought not to be asking for a promotion. He ought to be subject to court-martial.
Really start to fly.
He said you ought to be court-martialed for not appearing in Congress today.
Well, you know, that's silly. He wants to talk about prison for me? Let him.
As you will see a little later, the Pennsylvania Senate race will get nastier. But next, Nevada's Harry Reid, the top Senate Democrat,